Hi, I'm Jenna. My mom told me I couldn't come to my sister's engagement party because I didn't match the vibe she wanted to project to her future in-laws. But when I uncovered what they did behind my back, I didn't shout. I didn't weep. I sold the very condo they were boasting about because it was still in my name. Have you ever been treated like you were expendable by your own family? Before we dive in, what time are you reading this and where from? Drop a comment. I really want to know about the invitation that wasn't meant for me. By the time I finished the rooftop unit on 5th and Main, the sun was low, painting the sky in gentle amber streaks. My shirt stuck to my back, drenched from crawling through ductwork all afternoon. I took a long gulp from my thermos, leaned against my truck, and let the autumn breeze cool the sweat on my skin. My shoulders ached, but beneath the soreness, I felt something close to peace. Kristen's engagement party was approaching, and for the first time in months, I was eager for a family gathering. It wasn't just any party. Derek Walton, her fiancé, came from wealth, traditional values, a legal family in Boulder. Kristen had been working hard to impress them, posting curated brunch photos and book stacks she hadn't actually read. Still, I figured family was family. We all show up no matter what. That's how Dad raised us. Well, raised me mostly. On the way home, I stopped by a quaint wine shop off Jefferson. The clerk offered assistance, but I waved him off. I knew what I wanted: Washington Merlot, Dad's favorite. He used to say it tasted like autumn leaves and resolution. Felt fitting. I wanted to make a good impression, to show Derek's family that yes, we're working class, but we arrive with style. Back in the truck, I nestled the bottle in the passenger seat and glanced at my phone. 2 new texts, one from my cousin Lena. *Oops. Thought this was the group chat. Ignore this lol. Asterisk attached was a photo of an invitation. Black envelope, silver script, elegant, the kind you'd expect for a senator's gala, not a backyard engagement party. My smile faded when I read the line below the RSVP date. Asterisk formal attire only. Kindly avoid trade or working class appearances. Asterisk. I blinked. Read it again and again. My throat tightened. Heat surged to my face. Not from the sun, but from something sharper. Embarrassment? Fury? I wasn't sure yet. There had to be a mistake. Lena must have misunderstood. I dialed Mom. "Hi, sweetheart," she said. All honey as usual. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, I just saw the invite. Lena sent it by accident." "You guys sent it out already?" A pause. I heard the clink of glass in the background. Maybe she was setting the table. "Kristen wanted everything to be refined," she said finally. "You know how the Waltons are, very conventional. She didn't want anything to feel too casual." "So I'm casual now," I said. My voice stayed level. I didn't need to raise it. "That's not what I meant," she replied quickly. "You know Kristen. She's just nervous about impressions. She thought maybe you could visit later in the week. We'll do something, just the 3 of us. Like I was an afterthought. So you all get to toast her future, and I get scraps." "Don't be dramatic, Jenna," Mom said. "It's just optics. You know how this world works." I laughed. A short, icy breath of disbelief. "No, Mom. I know how roofs leak, pipes burst, and heaters fail in January. That's the world I work in. The one that keeps your house standing." "I'm not doing this with you," she said, her tone flattening. "It's just one evening. Don't take it personally." I didn't respond. I hung up. Back at home, I sat on the edge of my faded couch, the wine bottle still unopened on the counter. My work boots left grit on the floor, but I didn't move. I stared at the wall until the room darkened. Half an hour later, my phone buzzed again. "Lena." Look. I didn't want to say anything, but Kristen told me not to tell you. She thinks your job gives off the wrong vibe. Whatever that means. The wrong vibe. The girl who sobbed at my high school graduation because I gave her my class ring when she was 9. The girl I drove through a blizzard to save after her roommate turned violent. The girl I supported through college with tuition money from 12-hour shifts in boiler rooms. Now I was a liability. I didn't throw my phone. I didn't scream. I sat there, still, quiet, as the weight of it all settled over me like stone. So this was it. Not just a party I wasn't invited to. Not just a dress code I didn't fit. Not just a sister who didn't want me there. This was erasure. Slow, polite, deliberate. They weren't just leaving me out. They were rewriting the family portrait, cropping me out entirely. The sister who erased me. After sitting in the quiet for what felt like hours, I stood and turned off the hallway light. The apartment went dim, the kind of dim that makes silence resonate. I didn't bother with the living room lamp. Instead, I poured a glass of the wine I'd meant for Kristen and set it untouched on the windowsill. The sky had shifted to a bruised indigo, city lights twinkling against the desert horizon. Santa Fe always looked more honest at night, less polished. I sat back on the couch armrest, phone in hand. The screen had gone dark, but when I tapped it, the invitation reappeared. Those silver letters, sleek and elegant, stared back like a veiled threat. I wasn't angry yet. I was empty, like my chest had been hollowed out and filled with something weightless but too vast to ignore. Without thinking, I opened Kristen's social media. I hadn't checked in months. We used to tag each other in everything. Inside jokes, throwback photos from childhood, that ridiculous road trip to Nevada when our rental car broke down near Tonopah. I typed her name into the search bar. Her profile popped up instantly. Verified, polished, curated, just like everything she presented now. But what I saw next didn't just sting. It was surgical. There was no trace of me. Not a single photo of us together. No birthday post. No graduation picture. No photos from Dad's funeral where I stood beside her, holding her hand like I was the one keeping her steady. The tagged posts that once cluttered her page, gone. Even the comment I left on her engagement announcement. Deleted. It was like she'd been preparing for this erasure long before the invitation existed. Like I'd become an inconvenience she'd scrubbed out of her story, one post at a time. I scrolled until my thumb ached, searching for anything, even a hint. There was nothing. My stomach knotted, and I caught myself gripping the phone too tightly. I set it down, resisting the urge to hurl it across the room. Then a new message from Lena. Asterisk I didn't want to say earlier, but I think you should know. Kristen told Derek you're not her real sister, that you two just grew up together. She said your mom wasn't married to her dad when you were born, that it was complicated. Asterisk. I read it once, then again, then a third time slowly. I didn't respond. Not because I had nothing to say, but because the words wouldn't form. There was no way to express what it felt like to be rewritten in real time. Not rejected, not insulted, rewritten. I was no longer her sister. I was a footnote in a backstory she didn't want her future in-laws to question. Funny. When Kristen couldn't afford rent her junior year in Boston, I sent checks every month. I canceled a trip to pay for her laptop, the one she used to write the essay that got her into grad school. I walked 6 blocks in a snowstorm to deliver her medication when she was too sick to drive. She called me her hero back then, said, "You're the big sister every girl dreams of." I never brought it up later. And now I was just someone she knew as a kid. I moved to the kitchen, slow and deliberate. I opened the fridge, closed it without taking anything, and leaned on the counter, staring at the tiles. The silence in the apartment pressed down like a second ceiling. My hands moved on instinct, tidying things that weren't messy. Straightening mail, aligning keys, stacking coasters. Anything to avoid the scream building inside me. I kept replaying Lena's message, the audacity, the calculation. You're not her real sister. No one would have guessed Kristen was the one I shared a bunk bed with growing up. That we fought over cereal brands and who got shotgun. That when Dad died, I held her in the church bathroom for 20 minutes while she gasped for air. Now she was telling people we just happened to grow up together. I reached for the wine glass again, stared at the untouched liquid, and set it back down. That's when it clicked. Not with anger, not with sorrow, but with clarity. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't social anxiety or pressure from Derek's family. This was a choice, a surgery she'd rehearsed in silence until I became a ghost she could disown without blinking. And I let it happen. I handed her the tools. I paid the bills that bought the dress she'd wear at the engagement party. I funded the education that taught her how to erase me with finesse. I didn't lose a sister tonight. I finally saw I never truly had one. The condo that wasn't mine anymore. I barely slept that night. I wasn't tired, just restless. My mind kept replaying moments that now felt like traps. The mornings I drove Mom to her doctor because Kristen was busy with classes. The nights I stayed up balancing the family's finances after Dad died so no one else had to. All of it repurposed in Kristen's world as background noise. By sunrise, I gave up on rest. I dressed, brewed coffee, and headed to the room I used as a home office, a converted garage with a heater and solid Wi-Fi. The desert air was crisp, the sunlight through the blinds too honest to allow denial. Work was my shield, always had been. I opened my laptop and logged into the accounting portal. Invoices to approve, payroll to finalize, expense reports to archive. I moved mechanically, checkboxes, receipts, updates, until I needed an old tax form from the filing cabinet. I opened the second drawer. That's when I saw it. A cream envelope I didn't recognize, marked in neat black lettering, transfer authorization, property gift packet. I froze. I hadn't requested anything like that. I pulled it out and opened it. My stomach sank before I finished the first paragraph. The document listed my full name as the donor. Below, under recipient, was Kristen Ballard and the property in question. The condo on Camino Verde Avenue, the one I bought after Dad died, where Mom had lived rent-free for 9 years. My name wasn't just listed, it was typed into the digital signature field, as if my approval was a given. My eyes jumped to the justification section. Asterisk gift to daughter upon marriage. Property to be reassigned as part of family estate structure for tax purposes. Asterisk I reread it. The condo was mine. I'd scraped together the down payment from years of weekend gigs, working New Year's shifts others skipped, and forgoing vacations for a decade. I bought the appliances, hired the roofer after the 2020 storm, fixed the plumbing myself to save $900. Now I was a donor in a transaction I never approved. I wasn't shocked. I was offended. I opened my messages and found a contact saved as Sarah, paralegal, Onam Law. We'd gone to high school together. She helped me last year when a supplier shorted my company on HVAC parts. I typed fast. Asterisk Hey, quick question. Did anyone from the Ballard family, Kristen or Elaine, contact you about property transfer stuff? Asterisk 20 minutes passed. No reply. I went back to work, trying to distract myself, but nothing worked. The hum of the space heater felt like static in my head. When my phone buzzed, I grabbed it. Sarah. Asterisk Hey, Jenna. Actually, yes. Kristen asked about filing a gift deed transfer, wanted it done quietly to avoid third-party notaries. Asterisk. The room didn't spin, but everything in me tightened. It wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. Kristen didn't just erase me from a party or a family tree. She was erasing me from property records. I set the phone down and stared at the envelope's gold foil seal, glimmering faintly. It made my jaw ache. That condo was my way of keeping Mom secure after Dad died. I never asked for rent. I paid the taxes, covered the HOA fees, arranged lawn service. I thought if I handled it quietly, that was enough. To them, it was just an asset to shuffle on paper. My contributions, my sacrifices, rewritten as a generous act they assumed I'd endorse. My jaw clenched. I walked to the drawer where I kept keys, emergency contacts, and spare checks. I placed the envelope inside but left the drawer slightly open. A sliver of truth like a warning. I didn't call anyone, didn't send a scathing text. Instead, I stood by the window, arms crossed, as the city woke up. They thought I wouldn't notice. They thought I'd hand over the keys like always. But this time they'd misjudged the quiet one. I won't warn them, I whispered, voice steady. I'll just act. The lie that became gospel. 2 days passed like haze. I buried myself in work, hoping routine would smother the fury swelling behind my ribs. But the silence in my apartment wasn't calm. It was sharp, calculated. They hadn't reached out, not once. No calls, no check-ins, no explanations. Just silence. That Wednesday night, I microwaved a tray of ravioli from Whole Foods and sat on the couch with a blanket over my lap. I wasn't hungry, but eating kept my hands occupied. My phone buzzed twice, then again, then 5 more times in quick succession. I didn't check the notifications. I knew what they were. I opened my browser and scrolled, more out of habit than curiosity. There it was, Kristen's new post, a filtered photo in front of the condo I still legally owned. Kristen stood in the center, her ivory dress fitting perfectly, one hand looped through Derek's arm. Behind them, the stucco wall of my property glowed under twinkling porch lights. Flanking them were our mother, Derek's parents, and a few unfamiliar faces, probably colleagues from his firm. The caption read, "So grateful for the Walton family and the beautiful legacy they've passed on to us. The future feels radiant." I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. The condo, paid off over 13 years with overtime, missed holidays, and skipped self-care, was now an Instagram prop. A gift supposedly passed down to celebrate a marriage that excluded me. The comments flooded in. What a blessing to receive a family home. Legacy goals. Asterisk, you're so lucky to have a sister like that. She must adore you. Asterisk, I stared at those words, my mouth tightening until my jaw ached. My fingers curled around the wine glass beside me, knuckles whitening. I set it down before it shattered. Not once did they tag me, not even in the caption. Then my phone rang, an old-school ringtone I hadn't heard in years. Aunt Clara. I hesitated, then answered. Jenna, sweetheart, she gushed. I just wanted to say thank you. That was really big of you. I blinked. Sorry, what are you talking about? The condo, she said with a laugh. Kristen told us you signed it over as a wedding gift. Said you wanted to surprise her and didn't want any fuss. I went cold. She said I said that? Of course. Everyone at dinner was in awe. It's not every day someone gives away a house. I opened my mouth, then closed it. The ravioli sat forgotten, its sauce congealing. She told everyone I volunteered the condo. Well, yes, Clara said, her voice wavering. Isn't that true? I couldn't speak. The betrayal wasn't just what Kristen had done. It was how meticulously she'd woven every thread of the narrative. She didn't just exclude me. She repainted me. I hung up politely, too politely, and stared at my reflection in the dark TV screen. This wasn't just a lie. It was a campaign. My silence had become consent. My distance had become grace. My generosity rewritten as sacrifice. I grabbed my phone and scrolled back to the post. She'd even geotagged it, Walton Legacy Home, like it was a family estate we'd all agreed on. Not the result of me pausing my future to keep Mom off the streets. And the worst part? No one questioned it. Not Mom, not Derek, not a single relative. They swallowed the lie with smiles and raised glasses. I opened a blank message to Kristen. Asterisk, you're rewriting my life for your convenience. Stop now or I will. Asterisk, I stared at it, then deleted it. No, not yet. They didn't need a warning. They needed a reckoning. I stood and looked out across the dark street. In the city's stillness, I felt it, the fault line. One more step, and everything they'd built on my back would crack. They'll only hear me when the ground starts shaking, I said aloud. And this time, I meant it. The line I finally drew. The city was slipping into dusk as I stood by my office window, arms crossed, watching traffic inch past the strip mall across the street. It had been 2 days since the condo photo went viral and nearly a week since I uncovered their scheme. Still, no one had reached out, not even to feign concern. The silence wasn't passive anymore, it was strategic. Behind me, my computer pinged, a reminder from my mortgage portal. Upcoming payment due in 5 days, $1, 512.47. I closed the pop-up and let my hand fall. Funny, I was still paying for the foundation of a lie they now stood proudly on. I financed the fantasy, and they called it a family heirloom. My phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. Asterisk, hi. This is Derek. Can we talk? Asterisk, I stared at it. Derek, Kristen's fiancé, the golden boy, the polished version of what their family apparently deserved. I didn't reply immediately. I sat at my desk, rereading his message. Then I typed, asterisk, if this is about the condo, ask Kristen why she told you it came from her parents. Asterisk, his reply was almost instant, 3 dots pulsing. Then nothing. Good. That meant it hit where it needed to. I didn't need validation. I just needed someone to start asking questions. And it sounded like he was. Across town, at some upscale restaurant I wasn't invited to, Derek sat with his parents, Kristen, and Mom. According to Lena, it was a formal family alignment dinner to discuss wedding details. I pictured the same fake smiles, clinking glasses, and polished lies passed around like appetizers. Kristen must have been radiant. She always was under chandeliers. She probably wore a soft silk dress that looked costly but not ostentatious. Derek's mother, Margaret, likely leaned over and whispered how gracious Kristen was for coming from such generous stock. Kristen would have replied, I'm just lucky my parents always provided, like with the condo. Derek might have nodded politely, but later, after dessert, while stepping away for a call, he passed the hallway near the restrooms. That's when he heard her. Kristen's voice, unmistakable, speaking fast, low, urgent. No, he doesn't know I said it was from Mom. I needed him to believe it was theirs, not Jenna's. He can't think my sister still funds my life. That would ruin everything. The words were whispered, but the impact was deafening. Derek stood frozen, jaw tight. The illusion shattered, and the truth poured in. Back at my office, the night air had cooled. I opened the window above my desk, letting in a breeze. I felt it in my bones, the shift, the unraveling, like the first crack in a dam. I thought of Dad, his voice, his steadiness. He used to say, "There's a fine line between keeping peace and becoming a doormat." He'd pause and add, "Silence isn't always strength, baby girl. Sometimes it's just surrender in a prettier dress." I grabbed a notebook and pen. No email, no text, just ink, permanent. I wrote, "This is the line. The exact point where I stopped pretending my kindness wasn't taken for weakness. Cross it again, and you'll lose more than my silence. You'll lose access permanently." I stared at the words. They didn't soothe the wound, but they marked it, claimed it. That was enough for now. I closed my laptop, the screen casting a final blue glow across my desk. Somewhere across town, in the warm light of a luxury dining room, Derek was folding his napkin, his voice calm but his jaw tense. "We need to talk about your sister," he said to Kristen, his eyes no longer clouded by romance. Back in my office, I whispered to no one, "I warned you." The sale that shook everything. Saturday morning arrived clear and crisp. I reached my office early, the streets still quiet, the strip mall across the road barely awake. I parked in the back, where I always did when I wanted to stay unseen. Today I wasn't hiding. I was drawing the final line. I walked in, flipped on the lights, and poured a strong coffee. I dressed intentionally. Charcoal slacks, crisp white shirt, silver watch catching the light with every move. Not for anyone else, but to feel sharp, anchored. At my desk, I opened a folder labeled Camino, Real Estate Contingency. My fingers hovered over the trackpad, then clicked. I accessed my real estate account and selected List Property for Sale. I set the price, market value plus 5%. Not out of greed, because it was mine. I double-checked every field, square footage, deed in my name, no cosigner, and set the listing date as immediate. Across town, oblivious, Kristen posed in front of a full-length mirror at a high-end bridal boutique on Jefferson Avenue. A soft gray carpet lined the room as three bridesmaids sipped champagne and fawned over lace and pearl buttons. "It's flawless," one whispered. Kristen beamed. "We'll be in the condo before the wedding," she said, smoothing the bodice. "It's all coming together." She didn't hear her phone buzzing on the makeup table. She didn't see the voicemail from Horizon Realty. But Elaine did, because Horizon Realty, by mistake or fate, called the condo's landline instead of Kristen's cell. "Hi, this is Lisa from Horizon Realty." The voicemail began, confirming the Sunday morning showing at 11 a.m. for the Camino property. Call with questions. Thanks. Elaine, folding towels in the kitchen, froze, her fingers crushing the terry cloth. Within 20 minutes, she'd driven across town and stormed into the bridal boutique like a woman possessed. Kristen turned from the mirror mid-pose. "Mom, what are you?" "She's selling it," Elaine hissed, pulling her aside. "The condo. Jenna's listing it. There's a showing tomorrow." Kristen's face paled beneath her makeup. "That can't be. She wouldn't. Not without talking to me." Elaine's laugh was a scoff. "You told Derek it was ours. You told everyone she gifted it. And you thought she wouldn't push back." Kristen's voice dropped. "But she warned me." Her eyes darted to her phone. 15 missed calls. None from me. No reply, no defense. Just silence that roared louder than any shout. She sank onto the boutique bench, hands trembling, staring at her reflection in a dress she no longer felt worthy of. Back in my office, I reviewed the listing one last time. Lisa had scheduled 4 showings for Sunday. The condo was now a number, a square footage, a price tag, a reclamation. My phone lit up. "Mom, 15 missed calls. Kristen, 6 voicemails. Blocked number, unknown caller." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I sent one text to Lena. Tell them I'm not backing down. Then I hit confirm on the listing. It went live. My face stayed calm. Let them scramble. Let them panic. Let them explain it to their in-laws, their guests, their Instagram followers. Let them choke on the fiction they built. They'd used my silence as permission, my kindness as currency. Now they'd pay market rate for what I gave freely until they claimed it as theirs. That afternoon, I shut down my computer and locked the office. The Santa Fe air was warm, but the wind carried dry leaves across the lot. I looked west, where the sun dipped behind the mountains. Let them call it revenge, I said quietly, slipping my keys into my pocket. I call it justice, the party that fell apart. The moment I stepped out of the office Saturday night, I knew the fuse was lit. All I had to do was let it burn. Sunday arrived tense and quiet. The morning passed without calls, visits, or knocks at my door. But I felt the pressure building, like storm clouds awaiting a spark. The condo showings went smoothly. Lisa said 2 couples left saying, "We'll submit offers by Tuesday." I said nothing. I felt nothing. By late afternoon, the city shifted into evening gold. Streetlights flickered on, and across town, guests arrived at the Soul Ballroom at the Hotel Estancia. Valets in black jackets opened car doors with practiced ease. A string quartet played near the grand entrance, their music weaving through chandeliers and champagne flutes. Inside, Kristen glided through the room like she was born for it. Her dress shimmered, every strand of hair sculpted. Guests greeted her with hugs, camera flashes, and polite envy. Derek stood beside her, handsome in charcoal, but his silence wasn't reverence. It was fracture. From her spot by the floral arch, Kristen kept glancing at the main doors, as if expecting or fearing someone's arrival. Elaine clutched her purse too tightly, her forced smile twitching with every phone buzz. She hadn't spoken to me since discovering the listing. She wore denial like a heavy perfume. At 6:17 p.m., as waiters circulated with the second round of appetizers, Derek touched Kristen's elbow and led her behind the curtained stage. "Why did you lie about the condo?" he asked, voice low but sharp. Kristen blinked. "What are you talking about? You told everyone it was a gift from your parents, passed down like an heirloom." His eyes narrowed. "That was a lie, wasn't it?" She looked away. "I didn't lie. I just didn't want to complicate things. You know how my sister is, always dramatic. This was easier." Derek didn't blink. "Easier? You erased her. You turned her sacrifice into a fairy tale starring you." Kristen's jaw tightened. "She's difficult, Derek. She always makes things about her. I had to protect this moment." He leaned closer. "You didn't omit Jenna. You exploited her. That's not protection. It's theft." Kristen swallowed. "Why are we having this talk tonight?" "Because I heard you," he said, "at the boutique, telling your mother I couldn't know the truth or I might leave." Her eyes widened. "You were spying on me?" He stepped back. "I was listening, and I heard more truth in silence than you've told me in months." Before she could reply, the MC's voice rang out. "And now, Derek would like to say a few words." The ballroom quieted. Glasses rose. Forks stilled. Derek walked to the microphone, unsmiling. "Thank you all for being here," he began. "Tonight is supposed to be about love and new beginnings, but I believe honesty is part of that." A pause. The candles flickered softly. "Sometimes," he continued, "the people who give the most aren't in the room. Sometimes they're edited out because their truth is too inconvenient for the fantasy being sold." Whispers rippled through the crowd. "I want to thank someone by name who made this evening possible. Jenna Ballard, the woman who bought, maintained, and protected the home now being paraded as a gift from someone else." The ballroom fell into stunned silence. Derek stepped away from the mic. No toast, no clink of glasses, just a faint gasp near the cake table. Then he walked out, past Kristen, past Elaine, past the illusion without looking back. Guests stared, some murmuring, some heading for the exit, saying things like, "That was her sister?" Or, "Wait, did they lie about the house?" Lena, texting under the table, sent me one line. He walked out on stage in front of everyone. I was on my couch, laptop open but untouched. The air didn't erupt. I didn't laugh or gloat. I read the message and exhaled. "One lie down," I whispered. "A lifetime to go." The boundary that broke the bloodline. 2 days after the party crumbled under a single sentence. After Derek walked out, taking Kristen's perfect illusion with him, it was a Tuesday afternoon. The sun glared through my office's high windows, casting sharp shadows across my desk as I reviewed HVAC blueprints. My inbox brimmed with bids, inspection reports, and equipment quotes. I highlighted ductwork specs and updated invoices, but a pressure built behind my temples, a warning I ignored. Then the front desk buzzed. "Jenna, your mom and sister are here." I stared at the intercom like it spoke a foreign tongue. "Do they have an appointment?" "No, but they say it's urgent." Of course. I stood, smoothed my shirt, and walked to reception. There they were. Kristen looked like a shadow. Makeup smudged, eyes sunken, posture slumped under a designer coat that no longer screamed confidence. Elaine clutched her leather purse like it held her last shred of control. Kristen spoke first. "Derek left me," she said, voice frail. "He's not answering calls. His parents won't talk to me." Elaine stepped forward. "We've lost everything, Jenna, our reputation, our standing." "For what?" I folded my arms. "You tell me." "We know you're upset," Elaine continued. "But this isn't the way. You've made your point. Don't destroy your own blood." Something in me stretched but didn't snap. "I didn't destroy anything," I said. "You did that when you decided I didn't belong at your table. When you let them call me a blemish on the family photo and stayed silent." Kristen blinked rapidly. "You've always been the strong one. I was just trying to build a future. Can't you forgive us?" Elaine cut in, voice sharp. "The neighbors are talking, Jenna. The family chat's exploding. Everyone thinks you've gone too far. You could have handled this privately." I laughed, humorless. "You mean quietly?" Elaine looked away. "You're not sorry for what you did," I said. "You're sorry people are watching." Kristen exhaled shakily. "We thought if we made it look clean, respectable, you wouldn't mind." "You thought wrong," I replied. "While you were scrubbing me out of your story, I was paying the bills you claimed were gifts. I'm the reason that condo had working heat." Elaine's jaw tightened. "We're family." I stepped closer. "Family doesn't use you, lie about you, then crawl back when the house burns." Silence fell heavy. "From this point forward," I said, cold and steady, "you're no longer welcome in my business or my peace." Kristen's voice broke. "Please, Jenna, don't cut us off." Elaine's words came low, bitter. "If you shut us out, you'll regret it. One day, when no one's left, you'll wish you hadn't burned the bridge." I didn't flinch. "Maybe," I said, "but I'll regret staying quiet more." They had no reply. They turned and left, Elaine's heels clicking hollowly in the quiet hall. Back at my desk, I sat slowly. My pulse raced, but my breath eased. Then my phone buzzed. "Lisa, my real estate agent. Asterisk offer accepted. Closing date confirmed." Asterisk I stared at the message, then locked my screen. From the window, I watched Elaine's car pull out of the lot. The condo, the lies, the silence, they were fading behind them. I closed my eyes and said aloud to myself, "And that is closure, the cost of peace." 2 weeks later, the final paperwork cleared. The condo was gone. The deed signed, funds deposited. I'd stood in the empty living room one last time before locking the door for good. I didn't cry or linger. I looked around, nodded to the version of myself who once called that place home, and left. Tuesday morning brought a sharp Santa Fe chill, just enough to make coffee taste richer. I was in my office before dawn, sipping medium roast from a mug reading Built Not Inherited, a recent gift to myself. The new technician, Matteo, arrived 10 minutes early. His boots were spotless, nervous energy radiating. "First day," he said. "Didn't want to be late." "You're not," I replied, pointing to the desk I'd cleared for him. "You're early. Good habit." He smiled, set down his tool bag, and asked if we did breakfast runs on Fridays. I said we could start. It was quiet after that, the good kind. The heater hummed. Matteo organized inventory in the back, and my inbox cleared as I worked. Then I saw the envelope, tucked among HVAC invoices and order confirmations. Cream-colored, floral-edged, with familiar, tight cursive. "Grandma Rose." I paused. We hadn't spoken in months. She lived in Wyoming now with a cousin I barely knew, too frail to travel, too proud to call. I opened the letter carefully. Asterisk Jenna, you're not cruel for walking away. You're brave for surviving a family that only called you daughter when it suited them. Don't let their guilt become your anchor. You've carried enough. Love, Grandma Rose. Asterisk. I read it twice, then again. The truth wasn't loud. It was warm, like a blanket over a tender spot, like someone saw the bruises that left no marks. Later, at the co-op grocery on Jefferson, I grabbed soup ingredients. In the parking lot, paper bag in arm, I saw a familiar figure at the cart return. Derek, hair longer, face leaner. He looked up and we paused. He stepped closer. "She said you made it all up," he said without preamble. I nodded. "And did you believe her?" He shook his head. "Not for a second. No apologies, no awkward explanations. Just two people in an overcast parking lot, knowing some truths don't need shouting." I left before the silence stretched. Back at the office, a message blinked from a number I didn't save. "Elaine. Asterisk, the family isn't the same without you. Christmas won't be either." Asterisk, I stared, then deleted it. My tree was up at home, adorned in silver and deep blue, a candle glowing beside it. No one helped string the lights or brought cocoa or old ornaments. But I didn't mind. It wasn't the absence that hurt anymore. It was the clarity, and it felt like breath. That night, I lit a jasmine candle I'd saved since last year and opened a bottle of Pinot I'd bought for myself. I curled up on the couch, looking at the home I'd earned, bought with sweat, defended with resolve, made peaceful through fire. Raising the glass, I said aloud, "Peace doesn't come cheap, but it's worth every damn cent." Sometimes peace arrives after the storm, after you've chosen yourself in a room that never did. Jenna's story isn't just about property or betrayal. It's about drawing a boundary that says you don't get to rewrite who I am. Have you ever had to walk away from family to find yourself? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And if this resonated, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more powerful stories. More is coming.